One day I bought a book on how to become a cartoonist. I'd always been a doodler, and I read the directions in the book, and it tells you how to send off your cartoons to various syndication companies. And I sent off my little photocopies to half a dozen companies, and United Media called me and said, how would you like to be a syndicated cartoonist? And I said, I said I would like that.
You're fired. Clean out your desk and leave.
Adult animated cartoons. Will they ever truly stop? It amazes me how if you made a list of the best and worst shows ever made, you would see multiple series appear on each list. Let's face it, Simpsons just isn't a good show anymore. Neither is Family Guy or South Park, simply because there exists more bad than good. It's always those classic episodes that hold a special place in our hearts, but when do you ever hear somebody say their favorite season of a show is number 23? Honestly, the only way I could actually see any of these franchises being canned is if somebody significant to them died. That, however, wasn't the case with Dilbert creator Scott Adams, who passed away on January 13th of this year, who lost his Dilbert television series due to low audience score, and his comic strip and most importantly, reputation for much more serious reasons. So join me as we take a look through the history of Dilbert's short-lived animated comedy before and after. Right from the start, we should discuss the source material, a 3-panel comic in your Sunday newspaper, with what started as a small column in the United Feature Syndicate in April of 1989, began to grow into a monster giant appearing in over 2,000 different newspapers in 65 countries and adapted into 25 languages. Adams first got the idea to make a comic after working at Pacific Bell in the 1980s. He was able to create a story that was very typical to its readers as he injected his own experience of toxic workplace culture and how it affected him emotionally. However, whereas Pacific Bell is a telephone company, the character Dilbert resides in an engineering department, Pathway Electronics, E-Technology, otherwise known as Pathetic. Among Dilbert is an ensemble that includes his co-workers, Alice and Wally, his pointy-haired boss, coincidentally named Pointy-Haired Boss, Asoc, his mom Mumbert, and then you have a personal favorite, his dog Dogbert, and a personal least favorite, Loud Howard. All of these characters fit perfectly into their animated counterparts, with voices that, as I read the comics, fit perfectly in line with their scenarios.
Excuse me, I need to get out.
Get out? Nobody gets out. Haven't you learned that by now?
Dilbert is your basic character, which works to his advantage as he is treated as the middleman in all of this. He is by no means a genius, but follows basic logic that any viewer at home would condone with. His voice belongs to Daniel Stern, who we all remember best for his role in Chud.
What? C-H-U-D.
His pet dog, Dogbert, feels very much a mix of Snoopy and Brian Griffin, as in the first couple seasons of Brian Griffin, not whatever they tried to make this out to be.
Oh my gosh, what's under here? Hey, what do you call yourself? Oh, wisdom. Oh, profundity. Oh, truth. Hey, let's all just go hang out together between the covers of a book.
Buy a copy as they kick you out.
He is the real brains of the operation, being independent and able to turn out much more successful ideas all on his own than Dilbert's major corporation ever could.
The supply is limited, so they can only go up in value. Dry erase markers sold separately.
Entrepreneur investment guru Dogbert has sold his controlling interest in Dogbert Incorporated for $100 billion.
Not quite that much.
He's voiced by character actor Chris Elliott, making him my personal favorite actor and character to work on the show.
He was a really, really great guy. I really, really liked him. A lot.
Character voice actor Gordon Hunt took on the role of Wally, and Cassie Griffin voiced Alice. The reason I mentioned these two at the same time is how they wouldn't seem to work separately, but when paired together work for some good chuckles.
What's a mouse pad?
Feminine protection for mice.
Wally is basically the equivalent of Kramer on Seinfeld. I know he has much more of a George Costanza art style, and you could chalk up the crazy wild ideas to that of Dogbert, but the chaotic nature of his mindset is more in line of Cosmo.
Wally, what are you doing?
Welcoming in the millennium.
By ordering credit cards.
That's right. I'm applying for every credit card I can get my hands on. Then I'll take huge cash advances and wait for the millennium bug to hose the bank's computers. They'll never be able to bill me.
Giddy up.
Alice seems to be just a big believer in that negativity overpowers anything else, regardless of facts and logic.
Why don't you just get your mom a gift certificate?
No, I got her cash last year. She said it was insulting.
But a gift certificate is completely different from cash.
No, it's not. They're both pieces of paper you can exchange for goods and services.
You're missing the point.
Actually, a gift certificate is worse than cash because you can only use it in one place.
And it expires.
At least it shows some thought.
It shows defective thought.
She chooses that if she continues to be hateful and critical of certain things, it will offer up some false sense that she is smart, even though many times she finds herself the target of obvious stupidity. Dilbert's boss, Pointy Hair, is simply put a precursor to Michael Scott.
Really?
He's the living embodiment of it's dangerous to pick a fight with a smart person, it's deadly to pick one with an idiot.
You can't do that.
That's what they said about daylight savings time.
No, they didn't.
Well, they should have. My watch is off by an hour. Sometimes it's like that for months.
He lets his employees do all the thinking for him, but he calls the shots around here on what is denied and what moves forward. His voice belongs to Larry Miller, who is also a character actor.
I'm stupid, but I'm not crazy.
Those 5 are our primary lineup, and other aforementioned characters are relegated to minor supporting parts, which in the case of Loud Howard is a good thing.
And I would love to be treated like a human being, just once.
I think everyone might be overreacting.
I've lost my voice.
Finally, thank God.
Obviously, having a character in a show that is annoying can work if everyone else around them are annoyed by their presence, which they are, but in Dilbert's case, they don't do anything to shut him up and finally put a stop to it. No real punishment for who he is. Also, a quick thing about ASOC is that he is voiced by Tom Kenny, and seeing his voice being used back then just feels so weird today.
Oh, nature was calling me. Did I miss anything important?
Not because it is a white man voicing an Indian, but because this show premiered in 1999, the same year as SpongeBob. Obviously, he couldn't have known at the time that SpongeBob would be such a massive hit, so there are so many examples here of him using his high-pitched voice, and just feels so out of place.
Hey, what did I tell you?
Come and get me! How may I be of service to you, higher life forms? Down with big government! That's creepy, but flattering.
The storylines in the show are for the most part irrelevant to each episode. The only real continuity that continues throughout in a season is one where Dilbert introduces the Gruntmaster 6000, an invention whose purpose is never explained but is constantly brought up.
How about the Grunt Master? The Grunt Master. I don't know. It's missing something.
Grunt Master 6000?
That's it!
The rest of the show is a balance between typical mundane life mixed with exaggerated escalations on these situations. I mean, when you have a cartoon with an intro like this, expect it to have elements that nobody, not even the writers, are going to understand. All that matters is that you're entertained. The animation for the show was done by Adelaide Productions. They're basically the studio that made all the cartoons you're nostalgic for from your childhood because you watched them just because they were on instead of doing your homework. It was during the last 5 or 6 years of companies who produced a large quantity of cell animated work before it all switched to digital, even for 2D, which definitely proves its significance in the industry with all its in-betweens, especially during the fast-moving shots. Speaking of cartoons you watch just because they were on, Dilbert was unfortunately a victim of that too. It ran from 1999 to 2000 for only 2 seasons and 30 episodes before being relegated to just a newspaper. Oftentimes, when people even bother to think about Dilbert, all that comes to mind is a comic strip, with some people not even aware that there was a cartoon. Probably because when it comes to this style of comic stories, as opposed to a whole book, this is just how we see it. Not something we forget, but just something we aren't super knowledgeable about. It isn't like Peanuts how we all have seen the holiday specials because they constantly ran in syndication for a while. Even outside of that, how many Peanuts movies or episodes from the cartoon have you seen? And out of all of them you have seen, how many do you really remember? I'd like to know.
Oh, good grief.
The reason the series was canceled is up for debate. Some sources state that since the show was airing on a relatively unknown channel, UPN, and the time slot constantly was changing. Scott Adams went on to retract this comment in a post he made in 2020, stating that the network was more interested in showing content that would appeal to African American audiences instead of white. Which brings me to my next point. Even though I said the only way I believe any of these shows would ever cease production would be if a big name involved with them might pass away, there still is that part of me that thinks in some form, in some way, they will go on forever. That honestly hurts any chance of a finale. I mean, just looking at The Simpsons, a second movie is scheduled for 2027, but regardless of how well the picture turns out, a fitting end to the show is just too late. Even when the first movie was released, the show had already been on the air for nearly 2 decades, meaning that a sense of closure and satisfaction with these properties just doesn't seem realistic. I'm still counting on the days for Netflix to revive BoJack Horseman for another go-around, and Futurama has already been resurrected twice. If what Scott Adams did with his social media posts is what it really takes to kill a beloved character, then my god, let these shows run on forever then. Any and all social media posts he made I can't relate to, being of different race, and I try not to bring up politics in these videos, but I know that if I make one on Dilbert, I'm basically obligated to bring up Scott Adams' later in life actions. All that being said, I think anybody who brings up Scott Adams' downfall should have to bring up all the good he did as well. The guy didn't split the atom, and wasn't a real-life superhero, but he created a lasting icon who exists just to make others happy. And given the fact that he went till the end of his life before these allegations of racism were made towards him, I think goes to show that these incidents are pretty isolated. I don't think that freedom of speech means freedom of consequences, but I also don't think you should necessarily separate the art from the artist because, simply put, one wouldn't exist without the other. Taking it away just proves you found something you like about someone, but you just don't want to admit it. And to those who say it doesn't excuse what he did, then that just means it doesn't harm you in any way to include it. Hell, Dilbert wasn't even officially dead. It still continued as a web series, even after being pulled all over the world, proving that, for better and for worse, nothing ever dies. But we can all at least agree it's better than this.
I mean, most cartoonists are weird, but racist weird? Let's just say I didn't see that memo. Right?